Yeah. No.
Stand by for a transmission from DX Central. This broadcast is not a test. To confirm reception, please tune your radio to any AM or FM frequency and report your observations during this transmission. Again, this is not a test. Stand by for a transmission from DX Central. This broadcast is not a test. To confirm reception, please tune your radio to any AM or FM frequency and report your observations during this transmission. Again, this is not a test.
DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. At Teague Publishing, more information at Teague.com. Members of its DX Monitor Member Bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
presents the Philadelphia Phillies pregame show, brought to you by Safeguard Mutual Insurance and by Woco Department Stores.
The Gulf South
to your corner of the world.
This is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Good evening. Happy Friday to you all. And hopefully a great week of DX for you. It's been an interesting one here. Not so much on the AM side. Haven't really had a chance to do a lot of that. But in the last 24 hours or so, had a chance to do quite a bit on the FM side. And you know, here at DX Central, we're all about radio, so that means AM, that means FM. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're also going to do our usual assortment of live DX. We're going to do our medium wave frequency challenges, shout outs, and more. So glad to have you here on a Friday night. Hopefully the weather is good where you are. You see on the map there, on the lightning map, it's not too far away. So, you know, might be a little bit of lightning static, lightning crashes and whatnot on the AM side tonight as we try to do our DX. But on the FM side, we're going to do a little FM DX tonight, my friends. I'm going to explain to you why and show you some stuff that I've been working on to kind of get ready for the upcoming FM DX season because it's quickly approaching. As a matter of fact, let me show you. You see that big piece of wooden frame right there? That's our Faulkner FM loop antenna. That's actually version 1.0. There's a version 2.0 that is sitting in Brasstown, North Carolina right now, being used to great effect. There's a version 3.0 that's sitting out in the garage made out of PVC. And version 4.0 is not too far away. Be working on that here pretty soon. So getting ready for FM season, going to be putting together my 9-element stereo probe 9, get that up in the air, Channel Master stereo probe 9, got to get that out. But was doing some prep work. As you guys know, I'm really big into logbook analysis and getting all that kind of stuff so I can kind of identify trends and, you know, look at the data a different way, you know, in different ways to kind of help me maximize my DX. I hadn't really done that with FM. I'd done it a lot with AM. And to be fair, with AM, you can be a little more strategic. With FM, you're really relying on, hey, is the band open? Because once you've logged all your stuff that you have in your local area that you can hear within, you know, 100 or 200 miles from your location, outside of some meteor scatter or some tropo, you're waiting on E-skip season, right? It's not one of those things like with AM, you can just kind of hop in there at any time of the year and be like, let me go see what's on right now. You have to kind of wait for the conditions to be right. So I hadn't really done a lot of that kind of work with FM, but I have in the last 24 hours done a lot of preparation, getting ready for the upcoming FM season. One of the things I realized I hadn't done was I hadn't completed the full band scan yet. I haven't even identified where the gaps are that I can use to look for E-skip or tropo. You know, if tropo is in, what are the empty frequencies I can go look for new stations on? What are the ones that have maybe a station on it, but it's not a super strong one? Maybe that could be overtaken through some tropo or some E-skip, things like that. So I realized I hadn't done that yet, and I hadn't been using a logbook at all for FM. I'd been using FM List, which is fine, but I wanted to track more data than I could on FM List. So, you know what I did? I built a logbook, and so I'll show that to you guys tonight. We'll look at it tonight, and we'll also be looking here at this guy. Let me get this on camera. My TEF 6686.
Spent some time with it yesterday and last night, even laying in bed, doing some DX. Had my iPad sitting here, to do my logging, because I had my Google Sheets log with the form and everything, so I was tapping in logs laying in bed, and I had my iPhone to take pictures of the RDS captures on the screen of the TF, and man, it's just so much fun. So much fun. We had a little Tropo opening last night, so we'll be talking some FMDX tonight, but again, we'll be doing our usual assortment of AMDX, live AMDX as well. Shout outs, our results from last week's medium wave frequency challenge. We were on 1060 and 1071. We'll also be announcing our new frequencies of the week. There's only a couple more weeks left, guys. We've got this week's announcement and then next week's announcement. That's it. And then we're done with the frequency challenge for this season. Of course, our last episode of season 3 for DX Central Live is coming up on May 5th. So in that one, we'll be doing the results from that last week of the challenge. We'll also be doing our announcement of the entire season results. We'll be releasing that as well. And we all have a very special announcement coming up in that edition of DX Central Live on May 5th. You're not going to want to miss this one. This is going to be pretty freaking cool. So if you've been paying attention, you probably know what it's about. But on May 5th, our last episode of the season, we're going to be making a really, really big announcement. So I can't wait. It's going to be something that we can all have a very, very, very fun summer being involved in. So, of course, we got top of the hour coming up here in just a few moments. So we'll be getting over to our frequencies of the week and seeing what we can hear. This hour of Live DX is brought to you by... National Radio Club. That's NRC, nationalradioclub.org. That's where you want to go for more information. The screen looks a little different tonight than usual. I'm trying some new features out in Jaguar that I hadn't used before. I've changed the scope here, the offsets, the carrier scope a little bit. I'll talk about that a bit later on, and some of the features that I've been trying out. So our usual walk around the shack. We got the Perseus here with the 2 CAS antennas. We got a northwest-southeast at 305 right now. We've got a east-west right now at 285 degrees. We've also got... Where'd my mouse go? There's my mouse. This one. That's what I'm looking for, right? Yeah. We've also got our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. This has a northeast-southwest wire. And we are right now in the northeast configuration on that one, looking to our northeast at 35 degrees. And that's with the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. And then we have our RSP-DX from SDR Play. Look at that, on FM with our twin W6 LVP loops. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about using the W6 LVP loop for FMDX because it may surprise you. It may surprise you what it can do. Let's go back to our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, though, real quick. And we'll start ourselves off with a bit of top of the hour. Top of the hour time means we're looking for IDs, and we're going to start off with our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, looking northeast, and we're looking away from Radio Maria, which is all I've been hearing on 1250 this week. Let's see what's there. If we have anything. There's still sunshine outside for a little while longer. If you have shout-outs, new logs, new states, new countries, new Mexican states, new Canadian provinces, or if you logged a station from the state of Louisiana for the first time this week, a new station out of the state of Louisiana to you, hold on to those. We'll be looking for those in the chat. Got some special celebrations coming up for you guys later on today. This could be new. I don't think I've logged a country station this week. I hope that's Fort Payne. Of course, I'll be keeping an eye on the microphone tonight to make sure that I'm not miming my DX. I never heard them ID at the top of the hour. May have been muffled or covered by lightning, but I never heard an ID there. So we'll circle back around to that. Let's go back over to our Perseus. And we're also on 1250. I would imagine this would have caught Radio Maria looking out west. KDEI there in Port Arthur. Let's see if that's who it was. Well, look at that. It's the country station again. It kind of disappeared. All right, let's check out 1260. It should be Baton Rouge.
The best in blues, all day long. You're listening to All Blues Fridays on AM 1260, KBRH, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to All Blues Friday on AM 1260, KBRH,
Nice. Let's check 1270. I'm going to imagine that that is Pritchard, Alabama, WIJD, which is practically local. And Dallas-Fort Worth KFLC hasn't come in yet. There's also Classic Hits WBOJ out of Columbus, Georgia. I've heard them a few times this week.
You are tuned in to a study of Paul's second epistle to the Church of Thessalonica. In chapter 3, we find this necessary. Our study begins with chapter 3, verse 6. All right, now we command you, beloved, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. In his second letter to the Corinthians, in chapter.
So it sounds like he didn't never ID. I'm guessing that's probably who that is to be IJD. And then obviously 1280. You guys know the score on this one.
Black-oriented radio stations following World War II. And that's a fact. I'm Frankie Darcell on the Black Information Network.
1280 AM WODT, New Orleans, the Black Information Network.
BINNewsNewOrleans.com on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BIN News New Orleans. Tell your smart device to play New Orleans BIN 1280 on iHeartRadio.
So there you go. So those are the stations that we caught here at the top of the hour. We had 1250, likely WZOB, but never heard an ID. 1260 WBRH or KBRH, Baton Rouge. 1270, likely WIJD, although they never did ID. And 1280, we had WODT here out of NOLA. So all fairly, with the exception of maybe ZOB, if they would have ID'd, that would have been a new one for us this week. But otherwise, that's kind of what we've been experiencing all week. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have more live AMDX heading your way, and that does include... Let me make a switch there. Okay. That does include, before we get to that DX, we're going to have a discussion on FMDX. We're getting ready for the season. Tropo season is already underway here in the Gulf South and along the East Coast and some parts of the interior of the country. I'm seeing some Tropo openings. I know there's some stuff up northeast, mid-Atlantic last night and the last couple of days, especially in the mornings. So we're going to talk about FMDX, getting you ready for the FMDX season, for E-Skip season, what you need to be doing right now to prepare for the FMDX season. And some tips and tricks and some things that you can use to help you with some DX, including the tools such as RDS, how that will be effective for you, and what you can do with that, how to get your logbook set up, and more. So don't go anywhere. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor Member Bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
To us tonight by the tobacco companies located in the Oak Brook Shopping Center and in Old Chicago and Bolingbrook, a presentation of WGN Sports. Vince Lloyd and Lou Boudreau. Lou has the leadoff man coming up in just a moment, and don't forget we'll be on the air with you tomorrow, 12:55 on WGN Radio Chicago. How you doing, everybody? Lou Boudreau with the leadoff man from Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, and I welcome you each and every Friday night, at least for a few more weeks, and then we'll take a little bit of a hiatus on the scheduled streams, at least, through the summer, as we do some preparation for Season 4. Can you believe it? We're already about to be on Season 4 of DX Central Live, and Season 3 of the Medium Wave Frequency Challenge. I can't believe that. So yeah, we have a couple more weeks left, and then we'll be doing a little bit of a hiatus. I am hoping... I can't make any promises because I still haven't figured out how to do this without YouTube slapping my hand with copyright stuff. But I'm hoping to be able to do some FMDX streams. So we're going to test it out tonight. We're going to just do some FMDX tonight and see how it goes. And if YouTube says bad things about it, then maybe we can have to figure out something else. If they don't, then maybe we might have a bit of a stroke of luck and we can try doing some eSkip streaming or some Tropo opening streaming this summer. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Before we get into all that FMDX stuff, though, because we're going to spend a big chunk of this hour talking about FMDX, I did want to go ahead and do our results video from last week's Medium Wave Frequency Challenge when we were on 1060 to 1071. Last week was one of the more fun weeks that I've had doing AMDX in a very long time. It was a very productive week, a lot of fun. And so let's look back now and see how we did. All right, so there we go. Congratulations to Barry and to all of our category winners. Again, that was a fun week. 1060 and 1070. I had a new Alberta station at just under 1,890 miles, so 1886 from here to Calgary. At the new Alberta station. Checked back in with our friends out in Los Angeles again, which hadn't heard them in a while. With the West antenna, that was nice, and 17 stations. That was probably one of my better outputs of the season. So very, very fun. We should definitely do some more in that frequency range again early next season. Who knows? We'll see. Of course, we're finishing up this week's frequencies 1250 through 1280, and we'll be announcing a little bit later on this hour our new frequencies of the week for week 24, 25, 25, 25. I'll get it right in here a second. Week 25. And then next week's week 26 will be the last week of the challenge. And then on May 5th, we'll announce the results from that week and the entire season as a whole. So hopefully you guys are going to stick around with us here as we round out the rest of this season of DX Central Live and the Medium Wave Frequency Challenge. All right, so let's talk FMDX. So I was doing some looking yesterday, trying to do some prep work for the DX season. And I'm just pulling up a couple of pages here. Let me pull that I'm going to share with you guys here in a second. Because I want to be able to show you. That's not the right one. I'm going to show you what I've been working on here, because it's actually pretty cool. So I very quickly realized I was wanting to kind of see what I had already logged and how my FM seasons had gone so far here in Mandeville, because I really hadn't done a lot of FMDX. Last season was kind of a bust for the Google sites for the e-skip season. It wasn't very robust. We had a couple of small openings, but I mean, maybe I'm comparing it to 2021 when it was like every day I was like, oh, there's another opening. Okay, I guess I'll go spend some hours over here DXing again. So maybe that's why it seemed disappointing, because I was comparing it to that. But I realized I've been using FM List for my logs, and I hadn't really been very robust in my record keeping at this point for FM from here in Mandeville. So I didn't really have a good handle on, how many states I had heard, how much Tropo I had done, how much e-skip I had done, things like that. What were my mileage totals, all those different kind of things that I know you guys know I like to track. I know a lot of you like to track as well. Which ones did I have RDSD codes for? Where did I have air checks? All these little things. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to scrap what I've done so far. Taking the end of 2021 when I got here in September, that end, which basically had I think a little bit of a Tropo season there in December, and then last year's Tropo and e-skip seasons. It was about 150, 160 logs total. I said, I'm just going to scrap that, wipe it clean. We're going to start from scratch. So this season, I'm starting from log number 1. Okay. And fortunately, I wasn't throwing away a whole lot. And so then I was like, okay, let's build the logbook. So you guys know I've been moving all of my AM stuff over to Google Sheets, Google Forms, and a Google Site, so I can do my analysis and build all my pivot tables, and it stays there. And all I do is just add a new log to the logbook, and it automatically updates all my totals and all my analysis and everything else. And I also wanted to have a way to store and share RDSD codes. We'll get to the RDS part here in a minute, because I know some of you on the Slack channel were talking about RDS and kind of what that is and what it does. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But I wanted to have a place to screenshot and share my RDSD codes. I wanted to have a place to notate and actually have kind of a visual of the FM band here in Mandeville. And I'll get to why here in a second, because that's a very important thing. The why behind this is very, very important. So all this work I was wanting to do. So I started yesterday. I went from square one, wiped the slate clean. I grabbed my entry form that I use for AMDX into my logbook, my Google form that I use for that. Made a copy of it. This is my starting point. Tweaked it to make it specific for FM. Added some new fields. Took away some other ones that I didn't really apply to my FMDX. Like, I don't care if it's sunset or sunrise or overnight. I don't care when I logged it. I just want to know, did I log it? How did I log it? Did I get an RDSD code? What was the propagation? Stuff like that, right? So made that, and then started doing a band scan. So let's talk about this. So if you are wanting to get into FMDX this season, let's say you're new to FMDX, okay, or relatively inexperienced at FMDX. Even if you've been doing this for a while, maybe you haven't done this step, and this may help you. I don't know. Some folks may do this, some folks may not. But I'm telling you, this is one of those things that when you do this, it makes a huge difference, and that is a band scan of your local area. And I'm talking dead band. Get yourself in there when there is nothing, no tropo, just normal conditions, using the equipment that you plan on using for that DX season. So if you're planning on, like I have my 9-element Yagi that I still need to put up in the air. Well, I'll probably do that this weekend. So I'm gonna have to redo the band scan when I put that up, because that's gonna change what I can hear. It's gonna extend it out a little bit further. So this 130, 150 mile barrier that I kind of have right now for my locals, or what I consider dead band local conditions, it's going to extend out a little bit. But with my 4-element Yagi that I have right now, I just wanted to see, I just start with the bottom of the band and go frequency by frequency, and I notate what I hear. And if I don't hear anything, I notate that. Because what I'm looking for here is a couple things. A, during a E-skip opening or a tropo opening, the best place to look for that is an area where you do not have a strong signal on a frequency. You can have a signal that you normally hear there, but if it's not really strong, you might be able to overtake that with, you know, some good tropo or some good E-skip coming in. But if it's a super strong local, like, you know, this one right here, 93.3 93.3 WQUE here in New Orleans, I don't care how good the E-skip opening is, probably not going to overtake that. It's a super strong station, mega signal here, so probably not going to be able to overtake that, but I notate it anyway just to make sure that I know what's there and what I can expect to hear. So here's some things that I track on this band scan. So I made a spreadsheet for myself to be able to track this. I basically went in and I did 88.1 as my starting point, and then you'll see here, see if it actually lets me see it. Here's my formula that I used. If you're wanting to do this for a spreadsheet, all you have to do is basically take the starting frequency that you want to use and highlight and say equals, and then tap on the cell that's your starting frequency, and then a plus 0.2, and then roll that down, and it'll basically create 88.1, 88.3, 88.5. So you don't have to type that in; it'll do it for you. So just let me show you exactly how I did it. For those of you who may not be frequent here in Excel or Google Sheets or whatever, so I just typed in an equal sign. Clicked on the cell as that was my starting frequency, which in this case was A1. And then I'm going to say plus 0.2. And now it's made 88.3 automatically for me. So then I go over here, I click on the cell where 88.3 is, and I just pull that down until I get to 107.9. There it is, 107.9. So now I have a line for every one of my frequencies. I didn't have to really do anything for it. It just kind of made it for me. And I'm ready to begin my band scan. So that's the easy way of doing that. A little tip for you guys. Some things you may want to track. The station heard, or in this case, it can also be an observation if no station is heard. We'll talk about that here in a second. Not only the call letters, but also the slogan. So like here you see American Family Radio, Sun Life Radio, The Bridge, Mississippi Public Radio. That helps because if you hear American Family Radio, you don't have to be, is that the station here in Plaquemines, Louisiana? You'll see it on your band scan. Your format, your location, your format. If you received an RDSD code, you note I notate here the PI code, which again we'll talk about that here in a second. What that looks like. I get the signal strength off of my SDR program, so I can kind of idea ballpark by looking at this and saying, okay, that's a strong station here in Pearl River, The Bridge. This one here in Mississippi Public Radio, the MAU, at negative 101.5 dB, I can probably get rid of that either by moving my antenna or on a nice tropo or E-skip opening, right? Like that's not going to be a big barrier to be hearing anything on 88.9. But something here on 89.9, probably not going to spend a lot of time looking for E-skip or tropo on that frequency. Bearing, which is the direction to me, and I'll show you how I find that here in a moment. The bearing to me, so I can know, okay, if it's 174 degrees for me, what do I need to be at to get it in my null? So maybe I can look for something opposite of it, right? So I'm trying to get the bearing, and then the signal strength you see here is with my antenna pointed at that bearing to try to get the best possible, you know, what's the strongest signal from that station. And then any additional notes here, and you'll see like this one, fully open frequency. I heard nothing on 88.3 at all. No signals, no nothing, fully open. I did a complete loop around with my Yagi antenna, all 360 degrees, never heard a thing. So I'm marking that as fully open. Now, if later I come back later and I see some stuff there on a regular basis, I'll notate that. I'll update my band scan here. But this is just my notes for me to kind of know, okay, here's what I can expect to see. You'll see some of these PI codes, these RDSD codes have a link next to them. And that is going to be coming up here in a second, but that is where I have my screenshot that I've taken. I'll have to log back in, I guess. My screenshot that I've taken of my RDSD code, which I'll show you that page here in a second. So that's what I'm going through. And I also notate here, like for instance, WQUE, the one I looked at earlier, 93.3. It's a big station. They have an HD signal. So on either side of that, on 93.1 and 93.5, that HD signal is there. So I notate that I didn't hear anything here, but I also notate that the HD signal from 93.3 is on that frequency. Why is that important? Well, if it's a super strong station like WQUE here, it might be a little hard to overcome that HD signal. It takes a pretty strong opening, either E-skip or Tropo, to overtake that and give me a station on that frequency. If it's not a super strong station, even if it is an HD signal, it can be overtopped. I had one last night that was overtopped on our Tropo opening. So that is to say, I notate, hey, yes, it's an open frequency. No, I'm not hearing anything, but it's because there's an HD signal sitting there. And then I go look at the HD signal source, and I see how strong that station is, and that helps me determine, should I even bother looking here? Okay, so you'll see I'm through 97.3, still making my way through the band. I have a couple frequencies here I need to go back and double check, because as I was doing my band scan, Tropo conditions began coming in, and that's not a good time to do it. It's not a good time to do a band scan at all, because you're going to be hearing stuff that you don't know if it's regular or not. You want to do this during dead band. Nothing going on, no E-skip, no meteor scatter, middle of the day, no Tropo, just dead band, where only thing you're hearing is stuff that's within 100 to 200 miles of where you're sitting. That's the best time to do a band scan. So that's step number one, is do a full band scan, learn every single station on your band, track it if you feel you want to do that, so you can actually go back and reference this until you can kind of memorize it a little bit, so you can see where are the open holes here, and on the frequencies where it's not open, where there is something there, like for instance here, 91.1. This is a frequency where last night I actually had a station out of Texas popping in here on 91.1 briefly. I never got the ID on it, so I didn't log it, but they were coming in, overtaking these two other stations that are a little bit weaker, right? So even though I have something on a frequency there that I've heard on a regular basis during dead band, maybe that's not super strong to be overtaken by a good opening. So that's step one. Learn your local band. Track it down, notate every single frequency. What do you hear? What do you not hear? Okay, step number two is to build your logbook. And that's what I've done here. I got my nice little handy dandy logbook that I've built. You can do this directly on a spreadsheet if you want to. I built a Google form. You guys are familiar with this by looking at my weekly frequency challenge stuff. So this is how I've built it here. And the reason I like this is because I can actually sit here very easily on my iPad or even on my phone if I'm out and about, and I can type in on the form. It has all the fields already for me, and including some of those where there's like a drop-down menu like the state and things like that. So it's super easy to fill this out. Again, I was doing it last night in bed. I don't have to type in USA. I can just click on the box for USA. I don't have to type in AL for Alabama. I just click on AL, right? So it's easier. It helps me keep consistency. Like, for instance, maybe I would normally, if I'm typing in my SDR, I wouldn't type maybe one time Elad FDMS3. I would just type in FDMS3. Well, now I've got two entries for the same SDR. See what I'm saying? So having that radio button there makes sure that I'm consistent in every single one of my entries, that they'll always be the same for those things where I have choices like my antenna, my radio, the states, things like that. So here's some of the fields that I'm tracking. I'm tracking obviously the frequency, the call sign of the station itself, the slogan. So a little bit different from AM. AM, maybe you track the slogan, maybe you don't. And FM, you definitely want to track the slogan. So B97, Q93, Bayou 95.7. You want to know what they call themselves, because they don't always identify what their call letters are, right? So you want to definitely know what they call themselves. And so tracking that slogan is super important if they have one. Some of them don't, but if they do. State of license, U.S. or Mexican state or Canadian province. You want to give yourself some wiggle room there, because during a good E-skip opening, you could be hearing some provinces. You could be hearing down into Mexico. You could be hearing some of those states, and maybe you want to track that. So make sure you give yourself some wiggle room. I probably am a little overzealous here with my countries because I just carried over from the AM list, but hey, maybe if I get a really nice opening, I can hear some Colombia or Belize or Bahamas or whatever. I did hear Bermuda when I was in South Carolina, so it's a possibility. Date of reception. I track separately the month because it's a pain in the rear end to separate that of the date out of the date itself. So I just put a field in to track the month because I like to kind of look at that. Time of reception, station power, my comments, kind of what was heard. Did I receive an RDS decode? Yes or no? If I did, then I come over here and I put in what was the actual code itself, and then any other data that I may have received on that RDS decode. If I didn't, then I just leave those two blank, and I'll leave that as a no. What radio was I using? And I can add in if I need to, but I just kind of start with here all the ones that I might use for FMDX. Antenna, same thing. What antenna did I use? How many miles is it from here, my location, to that station? Again, I'll show you how I find that. Propagation mode, local, tropo, sporadic E, meteor scatter, airplane bounce. If I need to add any, I always can, but I always kind of give myself at least the basics. Did I log it in FM list? Because I want to make sure that if I didn't, that I go back and do that, because that's how I can populate my map. And I'll show you that. Did I record it? And if I did record it, is there a quality air check that I can pull out? And if it's an air check, what's the URL when I upload that to YouTube? That's just for me because I'm a little, whatever about that. What DX season is it? And so I can do that kind of stats by season. Station format. This is another thing that I wanted to make sure that I started tracking was actual formats of the stations. So just like the slogan, if I'm sitting on 92.3 and I hear an alternative rock station, unless I just remember that that's alt 92.3 in Laplace, Louisiana to my southwest, I would like to have some way of looking at that. So I can filter, I can go back to my logbook here, I can filter by 92.3 and see what stations I've logged, scroll over to the format and go, oh, it's a classic alternative station or whatever, so that's who that is, right? That's what I'm hearing, right? It helps me be able to find that much easier. And then the bearing, this is the most recent one that I just added. What direction is that station from me? And I'll again show you how I get that here in a second as well. So those are the fields that I'm tracking in my logbook. I made a website here through Google Sites, and by the way, the Google Suite is just amazing for this kind of stuff because it's all integrated. You can plug it all in together. It's super, super easy to use. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of these Google Sites now. So I made a site specifically for my local FM decodes. I also did another one for my Tropo. You can see I've gotten... Oh, that's the same one. Where did my Tropo one go? Tropo. There's Tropo. I don't have a lot here yet, but there's my Tropo decode, so I'll be adding to it. So I just take a screenshot of the decode itself and then add it to this. And then what I basically do is I publish the site and I grab the URL for that specific image, and then I link that over here on my logbook. So I can, in my logbook, I link to that RDS decode image that you see here. So from my logbook or from my band scan, I can go directly to that RDS decode screenshot. Super, super easy. Okay, makes it a lot easier for me to be able to store those that way and link it to the direct entry in my logbook or my band scan. So let me show you now the website that I'm using to kind of use my to help me log these stations, and that's fmlist.org. I've got a couple of videos here on YouTube talking about FMList, but make sure you go create an account at fmlist.org. fmlist.org. You'll set your location and your equipment and everything else, and then once you have your stuff set, you can then pull up. Let's say I'm on 96.5. Got some static in my ears. If I'm on 96.5 and I'm hearing a station, and my local here is Tangi 96.5 here in Amite, Louisiana, and you'll see here that I'm just going to click on this local propagation button here. This is going to show me the things that the FM list thinks are within 186 miles of my current location. It thinks these are the ones that just any given sort of the day, you should be able to hear one or more of these stations, right? And you'll see here, it's actually going to show you the mileage from your location. Once you put your location in, it shows you the mileage from your location to that station and the azimuth. So it's 312 degrees from my location, and it's 26 miles away. So that's where I get that from my logbook, okay? It also will show you the PI code for your RDS, It'll show you the format of the station. It has links here for like the stream and stuff like that. And also any other RDS information that may send over. So for those who are newer to FMDX, what an RDS is basically on an FM signal, there's a subaudible digital stream that sends out data that can be read by a receiver that has RDS decode capability. And that data can send a code. It's usually a 4-digit code. It can be 4 characters, or it can be alphanumeric, so letters or numbers. And that code corresponds to that station. So that's where you'll see here on like on FM list, 8776 here is the code that Tangi 96.5 uses. So if I'm on 96.5 and I know that that's the code for that station, and my SDR software or my radio, because my radio has the capability of showing me the code as well, sees that code, then I go, okay, that's probably who it is. Now, you do have some false decodes from time to time, to be fair, but you just have to kind of know what those look like. They're very, very clear, and usually it's one of those where, like, most of the time, you're on 96.5 and you say, I'm getting a 1564 code, and you look up 1564 on that frequency and there's nobody using it. Well, that's a false decode. So RDS basically sends you that code. It also can send you things like song title, artist. Sometimes they'll send their call letters on there, their location, things like that. So you'll actually see a couple here, like here, 87BB here in Galliano. It says New Orleans or Galliano, Louisiana, WTIX. Here's Kentwood, Louisiana, WEMX A687. And some of these you'll even see like here, WKBU Bayou 95.7. We've got the format, we've got New Orleans, Louisiana, we got the call letters, we got the code, and then the rock of, and then it'll scroll the next line, New Orleans. And so that's what you can expect to usually see on some of those, is song title, artist, maybe some call letters, maybe some slogans, that code, things like that. And that just helps you identify, gives you another tool in your toolkit to help you identify who that station is. There have been times where the only thing I got was an RDS decode. I just heard a little bit of music coming in really strong for a few moments. There, a nice E-skip opening. This happened a lot for me when we had an opening up into Quebec, in New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia when I was in Charleston one time. Bunch of French stations. Didn't have a clue what they were saying. Really nice big burst of signal coming in. Loud, loud, loud. I get an RDS decode. And then I look up the RDS decode and it tells me it's a station in Nova Scotia or New Brunswick or Quebec or whatever it was. And then they were gone. And I never heard an ID. But that RDS decode, because I can validate that that's who that was, I was hearing the right format on the right frequency in that right direction during a time when other stations to that direction were coming in. Guess what? That RDS decode counts as an identifier. So, so definitely want to make sure, log into FM List, create yourself an account. A couple of other things you can do here. You'll see over here on the far left, you'll see this log column with the L over here. That is where you can actually log what you're hearing. Why is that important? Well, because FM List, and if you use AM List, you know this as well. They do the same thing. But on FM List, you can actually get a visual map of what's being reported as being heard. Well, why is that important for FM? That's super important for FM. Here's what it looks like, by the way. This is today's log. You'll see I got quite a few in here. There's some up in here, Arkansas. You guys are over there. I think some of y'all up in here. Yeah, so you can see each one of these represents, the little tower is the DXer. And the FM, orange FMs, those are all stations that are logged. And so I could click like, here's my tower, Mandeville, show all logs by the DXer. There's what I logged yesterday, that I logged through FM List. So that A can clue off a DXer that, hey, if I'm looking at this map and I see that people are logging stuff, maybe that's an indicator that an opening is occurring, Chopo, E-skip, otherwise. Also, that then feeds this right here. You see this green box that says ESA is on? That is an email alert that FM List will send to you that basically says, whenever somebody logs a station by E-skip, and I talk about this in my video that's here on the YouTube channel, so definitely look for how to identify an E-skip opening. Here, I'll show it to you. YouTube.com. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, and we got to announce our frequency, so we'll get to that here in a second. But I think this is going to be helpful for some of you guys. And I know we got shout outs. We'll do that here in the next hour. Don't worry. So I'm going to go over here. Go to our channel. There is how to spot, I think is what it was called. Yeah, there it is. How to spot an E-skip opening on the FM band. It's a DX101 video right here. That's what you want to go check out, and it actually talks more in detail about those alerts, but it can send you an email that basically says, hey, somebody just logged something on sporadic E that we think you might be able to hear something as well, because of the way the E-clouds work. They basically, like, if I'm sitting here and I'm hearing Kansas, I mean, Kansas should be able to hear my area. And if Kansas is hearing Louisiana, then that means over here, they're hearing down to Texas. And so this E-cloud basically creates a donut. And everything around that donut should be able to hear through that same E-cloud. And that's what can trigger those alerts. So you can actually get an alert when there's a potential opening for your location. So I definitely recommend that you guys go to FM List, get an account, set it up, and log what you're hearing through FM List. I do this and my logbook, and it makes a huge difference. It helps make sure that all of us are aware of what's going on when there's an opening, and gives you good data and a map that you can also use as well. There's other sites as well. There's the WTFDA. They also have a logger as well that you can utilize. There's also, that's the Worldwide TV FMDX Association, which I definitely recommend that you become a member of that as well. Super cheap. There's also Rabbit Ears, which I haven't talked about yet. We might do that next week because I'm still working on setting mine up. It's an account where basically those RDSD codes, you can set your SDR on the side and let it just sit there and listen. And whenever it logs an RDSD code, it uploads it to this website so that everybody can see all the stations you were logging. So there's stuff that you can see there that you weren't even there when it came in, but you logged the station because that RDSD code happened and it was logged. So that's another really cool thing that can happen, kind of automated DXing. So we'll talk some more about that next week, but I at least wanted to give us a primer here and get us ready for FMDX season. So that's some of the stuff that I've been doing. I'm also getting my portables ready. I got my little Sangean HDR 14, my HDR 16 as well, and then that TEF 6686 here. That I was using last night, which is a fantastic FMDX radio, by the way. Got this from AliExpress. I think it's like $100 or less. I don't remember the exact price, but highly recommend. This is a fantastic FMDX radio with just the telescopic whip. Mine's a little loose. I got to tighten it down. Fantastic radio, and it does show you the PI code. A lot of these radios will just show you like the call sign or other details, song and artist detail information. This actually shows you the actual PI code. Fantastic FMDX rig, so I highly recommend it. All right, so normally we take a break here. We're going to bypass the break for now, and let's go ahead and announce our new frequencies of the week for the Medium Wave Frequency Challenge for week 25. We'll check those frequencies out, and then after that, we're going to do shout-outs, and we're going to do some FMDX as well tonight. I want to give you guys a chance to see some of the stuff we were just talking about. So let's go ahead and announce our frequencies of the week for the new week, week 25. Ready? All right, 1410 to 1440. Bookended on either side of that by a local graveyard frequency, so I had to kind of narrow it down. We've already done 1430 before. We haven't done 1410, we haven't done 1420, we haven't done 1440. But I said, let's go ahead and just throw 1430 in there as well, just to make sure we're being complete and not missing anything. So I'm going to close that program. I'm going to open up a Perseus Jaguar back up. All right, we're going to start on 1410 here as we get ready for top of the hour here. We're going to start on 1410 and do a little DX there. While I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and start gathering your shout-outs, which we'll do the actual shout-outs here after the top of the hour. So start sending those over, so your shout-outs over. New logs, new states, new countries. Also, if you logged a Canadian province, a Mexican state for the first time, a new to you province or state, or if you logged a new station to you from the state of Louisiana. Send those shout-outs on over into the chat. Let me know, and we'll get you those shout-outs here after the top of the hour. So let's start here on 1410. Of course, again, this hour of Live DX brought to you by the National Radio Club. That's nationalradioclub.org. So 1410 is where we're starting. Let's go ahead and add my flags here. And a little feature in Jaguar that I'm playing with is looking at the flags and seeing where the offsets should be. Maybe it helps me identify a station. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. And let's look at the map. And here we go.
Your resurrection until you come again. Therefore, Lord, as we celebrate the memorial of your Son, his wondrous resurrection and ascension into heaven, as we look forward to his holy and living sacrifice. Look, we pray upon the virgin of your church, and recognize the sacrificial gift of life, that you will to reconcile us to yourself, and that we who are nourished by the body and blood of your Son, filled with his Holy Spirit, may become one body, one spirit.
So again, if you have new logs, new states, new countries, new Canadian province, new Mexican state, or if you logged a station from the state of Louisiana that you didn't have before, regardless if it was on the challenge frequencies or not, send those on over in the chat. Let's get your shout-outs going.
Father, gather to yourself all you children scattered through. Robert, from the President in San Diego. Robert, welcome to the show. Right. I'm your Lord loud and clear. Forever. So this is calling to thank our Lord for his bestow on the world all the ways on the dead. And, it's all your fault. And this day, it's quite oh God, Almighty Father, in the ministry of the Holy Spirit, all glory and honor and joy.
Hey Ray, yeah, Dad and Mom both were monitoring times, folks. Dad hung his hat on the satellite stuff, utilities, military communication. Mom on the shortwave side, but it was Dad actually was the one that got me into AMDX in a way, or at least once I got into it, guided me along the way because that's how he got started, was AMDXing as well. So he and I will compare notes every once in a while. He's also enjoys the FM. I mean, he'll DX anything that transmits. If it's got a RF signal, that guy's got a logbook for it. I guarantee you that.
From all distress, as we await the blessed hope and the coming of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ, who said to your apostles.
Oh, that reminds me too. I just saw in the chat. We will be talking here in this next hour about the W6 LVP loop and using that for FMDX, and we're also going to talk about using SDR Uno for FMDX with the SDR Play SDRs, and I'll also show you guys DXing out of SDR Console for FMDX. We're going to be looking at a little bit more here in this next hour. So FMDX folks, or if you're interested, if we've piqued your interest, stick around. And by the way, if you did log a new FM this week, throw that in there too. Let's get you some FM shout-outs. I don't have an FM shout-out celebration video yet. I will. I'll work on that. But if you got some new FM stuff this week, new logs, new states, new countries, things like that, send those in the shout-outs too. We're not just talking AM here. Any AM or FM. We'd love to hear it.
Lord, I am accurate and service. Oh, okay. Do you guys have any savings? It's required so that you have any savings? Oh, right there when you're done all this now. Okay, you have no money in the bank. We're living paycheck to paycheck, making $180,000 a year. I'm just saying it out loud so you can hear it too. Because I think we need to feel the pain because you're self-aware. You're going, hey, I know this is stupid. I know this is dumb. I'm not gambling anymore. But you want to get out. And that takes a point where you have to say, I'm looking in the mirror going, that guy's the problem, he's the solution, and he makes way too much to be this broke.
Man.
Correct.
So we gave you the first two kind of inward things. I'm not borrowing money. I'm going to stop gambling. Practically, you've got to get on a budget today. And it's a great time because we're getting ready to go into May, so we can start creating a budget for the month of May. Look, you have enough money. The good news is you earn enough money. You don't need to, go out and find a new career like some folks do. You earn enough money.
Your next paycheck covers the payday. It's gone.
Yeah.
How much is your rent? $2,400. You make $10,000 take home. Where's the other $7,000?
All right, so far on the shout-outs, I have Jeff. I got your one that you put in there. Bill, I got you in there. Carl DeWitt, I got you. David Pete, I got you. Stephanie, Barry, and Bart, got you all in there with shout-outs. If I didn't call your name, you got new logs, new stations, new states, new countries, and all that other stuff, AM or FM, send them on over.
3,500 the private line, and then the rest are the payday lines. Okay. Well, what is your next paycheck going to be? It's going to be windfall.
No, how much?
How much do you know? It'll be $1,300. And then how much? She's going to get $1,000 every Friday.
Got you in there, Troy. We're going to do something special for you on that FM.
Let us pray. These days, O Lord, we pray, those whom you have saved by your kindness, that redeemed by the passion of your Son, may rejoice in his resurrection. Thank you for joining us for Matthew.
Got your FM one in there, Carl, too.
Tomorrow at noon Central. Also be sure to join Father Rocky tonight at 7 p.m. Central for the Family Rosary across America. Coming up next, please join us.
All right, you know what time it is, folks.
Blessed be the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Of course, the Master.
So what we'll do...
All right, let's go back over here.
What you're going to do first off when you do the budget...
Let's get our FM, our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery up on 1410 here. And we'll start there, and then we'll work our way up to 1440 and see what we got on these challenge freaks. Yeah. Talking about AM, FMDX, or FMDX rather, E-skip conditions. 93, 94, 95. Those years were fantastic. Those were my first years where I cut my teeth on FMDX, so that's what I thought it was always going to be like. I was like, heck yeah. And then, later on it kind of quieted down, and I was like, oh, that sucks. But it was, those were some good summers. I remember TVDX during those summers, watching Nebraska TV, Mexican TV. Oh man, those were good years.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. His sons and daughters
blog post should be up now with the Google form, by the way. It went up about 3 minutes ago on the website. So make sure you go to the website and grab that if you haven't done so already. Bill and I, we got that wavelength going on. We're thinking the same thing at the same time, my friend.
We invite you to listen to the live broadcast of the Mass every day.
Sharing the truth of our Catholic faith. This is Archangel Radio, WNGL WCMT 5 FM, Mobile, Alabama.
I'm Tracy Sabel tonight on EWTM Nightly. The nation's highest court considers another major abortion case. We have team coverage and analysis.
All right, so WNGL Archangel Radio on 1410. Let's see what 1420's got. Yeah, they've been a pest for me, Rick. That's one I would love to be able to send somewhere else on the map. I do, Barry. I miss it. Oh, which are also, that didn't remind me, but I did want to mention, in this hour for FMDX stuff, we're going to talk about remote desktop, Google Remote Desktop, and how that can help you with your FMDX on something like a tablet or your phone or a laptop, so you can remote into your main shack computer if you have an SDR set up with your FM SDR. We'll talk about how you can use that remote desktop to remote in and DX from afar, no matter where you are or what you might be doing. You know what I miss? When I was a kid, I would put my clock radio on 87.7 megahertz and listen to our local Channel 6 here in New Orleans as I went to sleep. I miss the TV audio. I miss having TV audio because that was a fantastic way to TV DX. Oh, I do miss the hell out of that. Got a baseball game here. No, John, but my dad I'm going to tell a story on him here. Who do you think it was that had to climb the ladder and get on the roof to set up the big, huge TV antenna on the rotor, which also doubles as an FM antenna, by the way? Who was it that had to climb on the roof and haul that sucker up there and put it on the rotor on the big mast at our house in Brasstown? That was this guy. I was fearless back then. I didn't care. I was climbing the roof. Now? Now I don't know if I would do that now. I guess as you get older, you in your head, you know too much about what could happen, and that can be kind of like, you know, paralyzing to you to get up on the roof. But back then, I didn't give a crap. I was climbing up there anyway.
Visit LAFarmBureau.com to find a local agent and ask for a quick auto, home, or life insurance quote. LAFarmBureau.com. Make contact with your local farm bureau and
So I think that Louisiana farm thing was KPEL here in Lafayette. Oh, I heard their FM station the other day. And now I heard some Texas stuff in there as well. Let's go back to our top of the hour here and see what we caught. Fox Sports. Of course, there's like 8 different FSRs on this frequency.
Sharing the truth of our Catholic faith.
So let's see what we caught here at the top of the hour on 1410.
Archangel Radio.
Ah, there's WCMT, Martin, Tennessee. That's a new one. That's a new one, guys.
Truth of our Catholic faith. This is Archangel Radio. Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, that's a new one. All right, hell yeah.
I'm Tracy Staples tonight on Nation's highest court considers another big.
And that would be who that network break was there for. All right, so I'm going to write that down. 0100 WCMT, Tennessee. Add that to my logbook here in a little bit. Let's do the same thing here on 1420. Yeah, I'm just not pulling that Fox Sports out, who that is. Let's go to 1430.
You're listening to KEES 1430 AM. This is Blake Water on the Guadalupe Radio Network. Radio for your soul. Nation's highest court considers another
1440.
This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
What?
Alabama, so as he finishes his warm-up tosses, what a wait. 10 seconds for station identification. That's 10 seconds for a station ID. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
I think that was WLWI, I think. And if so, that's a relog. But if it was WGMI there in Bremen, right on the border, that would be a newbie for me. Or ZYX. I'll have to go back and see. It's Alabama Crimson Tide Network.
Seconds for a station ID. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
All right, so let me go away. Perseus software, thank you. We're gonna go to Tim Trump's site now. I guess we're calling it that now, right? Since he's taken it over, we're calling it Tim's site now. It's his to claim ownership of. Let's go to 1440 here and see if we can find that 94.5. I'm not seeing it on my Turtle database, so we're gonna do a Control F 94.5. Oops. Not 6. 5. There is one. If I can get my thingy here. And that's Cowan, Tennessee. That's the 194.5 that's on Tim's list here. Is WZYX Cowan, Tennessee. So that would also be a newbie for me. Yeah, that's 2. WZYX. Both Tennessee and both on my West Wire, which is interesting. I don't know what that is. All right. Let's go ahead and do a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some more DX. We're going to do our usual look at the nighttime pattern maps for our new frequencies of the week and our look around to see what's there. We're going to do our shout outs as well. And we're going to continue our discussion on FMDX specifically using some of these mag loops like the Wellbrook or the W6LVP or the U-loop on FM, and using like SDR or Uno software and how you can use that for your RSP-DX or your RSP Duo, your RSP-1A, whatever. We're going to talk about that. And we'll also do a comparison of that W6LVP loop with my Yagi and see just how close they actually get. More of that right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teak Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News member bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
Man, that's smooth like some peanut butter right there, boy. I'll tell you what. DX Central Live here from the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana. We're talking AM DX, we're talking FM DX. We're a one-stop shop for all things radio and DX. Let's do our shout-outs really quick. If you have a shout-out, that means you logged a new station this week, new state, new country, and that could be AM or FM, by the way, either AM or FM DX. New stations, new states, new countries, new Canadian province, new Mexican state, if you hadn't logged the particular state in the country of Mexico, or if for the first time you logged a station that you had not previously logged out of the state of Louisiana, so a new to you station from Louisiana. Any of those, let us know in the chat. We'll get your shout outs in here, but we're gonna start with the first round right now. So let me cue up the old chainsaw, get the horn of victory ready to blow. All right, you guys ready for this? Let's go. We're going to start with Jeff, Jeff Mo, and Jeff got himself a fantastic catch. I'm super jealous because with my local here on 1280, I don't think I have a shot, but who knows. 1280 Columbia, new one for him this week. Good job, Jeff. Yeah. Bill got to 11 new ones this week. All of those, by the way, took place on our medium wave frequency challenge frequencies. 11 new ones this week on the challenge frequencies. So, Bill, you know what's coming, man. Big log your way. Yeah, nobody outside of my wife and my parents have any understanding of what DX is. My neighbors, I just tell them when they ask about the wire. We had guys coming out this week, and they were cutting back the trees that are close to the power lines. And our yard has a bunch of that, so they were spending a lot of time in my yard. And they saw my big Kaz stretched out, and the guy comes up, he's like, "Is that a hot wire?" And I was like, No. I'll move it for you, though, because I don't want that falling on my wire and tearing down my antenna. So I'll move it temporarily out of your way. He's like, "What is that?" And I told him it's a radio antenna. So usually my standard. And then usually comes the next thing, right? The next thing after I tell everyone that big long antenna is a radio antenna, they go, "What you trying to hear?" And then my response is, "Everything." And then I usually say it's, ham radio and stuff like that. That's what people understand. It takes too long to explain. Well, you see, what happens is I like to listen for stations on the AM side of the thing. It just takes too long. We'll come back to that one. David Pete got himself a brand new state, so we're going to get the old lighter out and cue up some fireworks. Got KOZN on 1620 out of the state of Nebraska, so from Maine to Nebraska for a new state. Good job, David. Stephanie had a productive week this week. Stephanie, I am super jealous. I have a couple of these, which is actually kind of cool, but You had a very productive week. So 2 new logs from Canadian provinces. For our moose lovers in the audience tonight, we're not going to probably be pulling the moose out tonight because I don't think either one of these were new provinces for Stephanie. But heard 750 out of Saskatchewan, 1140 CHRB out of Alberta, one of my favorite radio stations of all time. At least one of my favorite receptions of all time. Also got a new station on 1280 out of Colorado, and got a new graveyard station out of the state of Washington. Now, Stephanie's in Southern California, so Washington, a little over 1,000 miles on the graveyarder from Washington to Southern California, plus Saskatchewan, plus Alberta, plus a new one on Colorado. Stephanie burning up the airwaves this week. Mike.
Well, you see, what happens is it's a terminated loop antenna. So on the backside of the antenna, you put a resistor. It's variable.
Barry got a new one this week. WADO New York City. Good job, Barry. There's not many stations left for Barry to log. I think he's got them all this year. You're doing great, man. You're doing great. Bart got 11 new ones this week as well, all on the challenge frequencies. Good job, Bart. There we go. Bart and Bill, both 11 new ones, all on the challenge frequencies. That makes me smile. I think we can come back now. Actually, you know what, Rick? You have a very good point. And I would hate to have made this video and not be able to pull it out into use during our live stream. So, in honor of David Pete last week, hearing WWL 870 AM out of the city of New Orleans, Louisiana, from his location in Maine. Okay, David's up in Maine, heard Louisiana, new state, new log. At the time, I didn't have anything special prepared. But we went to the kitchen, we got ourselves some ingredients, and we cooked up a little bit of something. You know how we do here in Louisiana. So here you go, David. This is in honor of your log last week of the state of Louisiana. I'm here to tell you right now, we're gonna keep that one in the hopper. So whenever you log a station for the first time from Louisiana, I'm not saying your first Louisiana, but anytime you log a new one out of Louisiana, let me know in the shoutouts, and we'll group all those Louisiana logs together, and we'll give you the old welcome video. How about that? So there you go, David. That's a belated Bienvenue de Louisiane for you. Carl got a couple new ones this week. Carl DeWitt got 6 new ones on the medium wave side. So let's start with that. So good job, Carl, on 6 new ones on the AM side. And on the FM side, got a new one as well. 106.7 out of Kentucky, or translator, for a new state on FM. So let me tell you something. A new state on FM, that's not easy to do. That's not an easy thing to do. And maybe, you know, like I'm going to have a bunch of new states right now because I'm starting from scratch here for Mandeville, right? So I had I got this, last night I got it, Louisiana, I got Mississippi, I got Alabama, I got Florida, I got Texas. I got 5 states last night on FM. All those new, because I hadn't logged them yet in my new log. But after I've done that, adding new states is going to be a little tough one. So good job, Carl, adding a new state on the FM side. Speaking of new logs on the FM side, we have a special one right now. And I don't have anything special cooked up video-wise. Maybe I'll have to do that for you. Do something. But Troy Porter has been bit by the FM bug and has logged the very first FM station in Troy's logbook. It's 104.7 out of Jasper, Indiana. So, my friend, a special horn of victory for you and log sawing to represent your first ever logged FM radio station. Good job, my friend. I don't know if that was a 21 horn salute. I lost count, but that was probably pretty close. So there you go, my friend. New FM log, first one in your logbook, 104.7 Jasper, Indiana. I'm looking forward to seeing many, many more from you this season. We just wait till the East Gift season. Boy, wait till the East Gift season. You're going to love it. So much fun. It is so much fun. You get that email alert coming in to let you know there's an e-skip opening. Whoo, man. All right, so let's talk about that for a second. So yeah, you sign up for the email alerts from FM List, and then whatever email program you use, I use Gmail for mine. You can usually set up an alert, like a notification or whatever, specifically from that particular email that you receive, right? So you can actually say, send me a notification alert that pops up whenever this particular sender sends out an email. So it'll show up on your phone, on your tablet, or whatever. And then what I like to do, let me show you how I've kind of gotten this going here. I'm going to make sure I got my volume turned down. I don't want a bunch of echo and stuff squealing. Let me sign in. Nope. DX Central. Go ahead and log in. So this is my, I picked this up. It's like $200 and something on Amazon. It's the 10-inch iPad. One of the more recent model iPads. It's like $200. So it wasn't too bad. I mean, for an iPad, for a couple $100. I don't know if they still have them up there or not. But I just recently picked this one up to basically use specifically for like DX purposes like this. So what I like to do is I download the Chrome remote desktop app. You'll also want to make sure you install it on your computer that you have, like your SDR. So one of the things that I struggled with was during the summertime, I like to be outside because it's summer and I'm a warm weather kind of person. And so I wanted to be outside, you know, out in the pool or out in the yard or at the beach when I was in Charleston, things like that. So being able to do keep an eye on the FM DX conditions was difficult because I couldn't stay inside and just sit there and wait at my computer. And if I would get one of those email alerts, once I figured that out, even when you got the email alert, sometimes maybe it's causing conditions in your area, maybe it's not. So how can I do that? How can I do a quick check to see if I am actually getting those conditions? So what I did now is I have my Google remote desktop app downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Remember my device, please. Okay. And it looks a little like this. So I've got 3 screens on mine, so you got all 3 screens. And you can just kind of zoom in, and I can sit here, put my earbuds in, either my AirPods, or I can use like these guys, my little headphone earbud thingies. And I can DX. I can check in from anywhere. I use this for like tuning my antennas. I use this for laying in bed, DXing. Done that, or in the living room or on the back patio. No matter where you are, as long as you've got an internet connection, you can do this on your phone. I do it on my phone all the time. Or on your tablet or whatever. Just get that Google remote desktop app. And now I can sit here and I can DX from my tablet. So you can see, okay, I got the email alert saying there's an e-skip opening. Let me go to my desktop and pull up my SDR here to see, okay, yep, I see conditions are open. So I'm going to hit record, and then you can just sit there and record from remotely. You can set your SDR up to record and then come back later and review the recordings. It's super freaking efficient. So that's my little tip for you guys for FMDX season this year, is get you either on your phone or on a laptop, or if you have a tablet, or if you want to get a tablet or whatever, You can get the Google Remote Desktop app installed on your computer that you're going to have your stuff on. Install it on whatever device you want to use. I also, like I said, have it on my phone. It works really, really well. And you can DX from no matter where you are. You keep an eye on conditions, and if Chopo or eSkip or whatever is opening up, you're right there. You don't have to miss a beat. So one of those SDR programs that you can use, this is what we call in the business a transition. We queued it up, and now we're going to transition into talking about FMDX on a couple things. Number one is the magnetic loop that I have here, my W6 LVP mag loop. And then I also have my U loop. I know some of you guys have Wellbrooks or other mag loop type devices. So let me see, is this gonna pull up? There it is. So this right now, this is my SDR Play RSPDX, and it's sitting on 101.5. We can all believe. That is a station out of Baton Rouge that I'm receiving right now on my W6 LVP loop. And here's the kicker. This Spectrum waterfall that you see down here at the bottom, these W6 LVP loops are going through an MFJ-1026 Phaser, which is really for up to about 30 megahertz. And it's also going through a splitter, because I have two loops coming in that I want to put into one MFJ Phaser. And then I want to send that signal out to two different radios, one going to my SDR and one going to my ham radio SDR that I have. So, and that is actually has a attenuator for the FM frequency. So what you're looking at here is a double attenuated FM band because of the devices that I'm using, right? So it's already kind of hand tied anyway, but it's still pulling it in. This is 101.5 WNYK in Baton Rouge. Right? So decent signal. It's at a negative 87. Now I'm gonna conversely, I've got that sitting at about 60 degrees or so on the loop, and so that means it's at 60 and 240 degrees. So it's getting that northeast southwest look, west southwest. So now let's over here and let's look at my SDR console where I have my Elad FDMS3 and my 4-element Yagi on the same frequency. You'll see right now I'm pointing at 240 degrees. So I'm basically pointing right at Baton Rouge. It's at negative 94. So it's actually stronger on the loop than it is on my Yagi. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. So it's right now sitting at 87.8 on the W6 LVP loop, and it's at 91.6 dBm on the Yagi. And I'm not getting an RDSD code on either one, although I did earlier get one on the RSPDX. So it's actually beating it out right now. The loop is beating out the Yagi right now on a station from Baton Rouge, which is like 60, 70 miles away. Let's go back to the RSPDX here. Some things that I want to show you guys. So right here, this is something you guys actually taught me because I forgot how to do it. Your RDS button is right here. This is how you open up your RDS window, and then you can kind of put it wherever you want it, kind of size it. I've also got a video up on the YouTube channel about using RDS Spy, which is really, really cool. It's a standalone RDS decoder. You have to use virtual audio cables to route the audio from your SDR program to RDS Spy, and then it'll be able to take that decode sequence, and sometimes it was a little quicker. It also has a logging feature and things like that, and some other features that I like for RDS Spy. So you'll see a lot of FMDXers using RDS Spy in addition to the RDS decoder that's in their SDR software. But lay of the land here. So a couple things with this FM, this RSPDX on FM. With these SDR Play SDRs in general, you have up to 10 megahertz worth of bandwidth. That's important because that's basically half the FM band. Now my Elad FDMS3 has the entire FM band, 24 megahertz of bandwidth, so I can record the entire FM band at once, or see the entire FM band at once if I want to. Now it's going to be super resource huggy on your computer, but you can do it. On here on the RSPDX and these other ones that are from SDR Play, I've got 10 megahertz rather. So how you do that is right here in this, there's a button that says IF mode right here. Normally it's in LIF, which gets you up to 2 megahertz. If I change it to ZIF, I can then come over here and say, okay, give me 10 megahertz worth of bandwidth. And now I can see 10 megahertz at a time. So for instance, if I'm sitting at 98.1, I can see everything down to 93.1 and everything up to 103.1, right? So, yeah, I think I got that right. I suck at math. So you can see 5 megahertz down below your frequency, 5 megahertz above your frequency, wherever you center it at. So, so yeah, these are really, really great FMDX machines. I'm a super big fan of the SDR Play line for FMDX. They're not susceptible to overload too bad. We have a ton of high-powered stations here in the New Orleans area, and it does great with it. I don't have a lot of overload problems. It just works really, really well. You have the RDSD code. You can set up your recording and go back later and review it. So it's a solid option for FMDX as well as AM. The RSPDX in particular is great for both because on the AM side it does have the high dynamic range HDR functionality for the medium wave bands to help reject other bands outside of the medium wave range. So yeah, I think, if you're looking for a great SDR for FMDX season, this is a really, really good one, especially if you're doing a lot of recording or you want to look at a large portion of the band at once. If you are going to be doing live DX predominantly, the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery works fantastic at FMDX. It's a really, really good FMDX performer, and that's before I even talk about the fact that there's the FM co-channel canceller, which is basically phasing for FM with one antenna. So it's I haven't played with it yet on the FM side. I have on the AM side a bit. I'm going to play with it a bit on the FM side this season. But it's also a really strong, I've done a lot of FMDX on the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. Up here, you've got the SDR console right now, which is what I'm using for my Elad FDMS3. They do have an Elad software. I like it. It's a little resource hoggy on my computer, so I usually kind of prefer to use SDR console. You'll see here is where the RDSD code is going to be. Also, you can put your clock on here for your time, which is really nice for screenshots, by the way. Which all you have to do is just click this button right here to make a screenshot. Boop, there it is. Screenshot, saved, done. I kind of like the interface better in SDR console. Changing frequencies is a lot easier here, I feel like, than it is in SDR Uno. SDR Uno can be a little finicky sometimes. So even if you have an RSPDX or RSP Duo or one of those, you can use SDR console instead of SDR Uno for your software. You can totally do that. And I do like it quite a bit. And you can set your bandwidth to be, like I said, up to 10 megahertz wide over here as well. Here you'll see this is where I have it right now at 12 megahertz. So I can see, again, roughly half the band if I zoom out here. Bloop, there's half the band right now. And if I center it at 93.1, and then I center, so you'll see everything from 88.1 all the way up to 98.1 when I have it centered like that. Did I really just do that? 93.1. Did I click the wrong thing? There we go. That's what I was looking for. So here's 88.1, and then all the way up to 98.1 up here on the high end, and a little bit higher actually. So you can see the entire bottom half of the band here. This is really helpful for eSkip season, by the way, because that's where it starts. eSkip starts low and it works its way up as the MUF maximum usable frequency. As it rises up, you'll see it start to get higher and higher and higher into the band, but it always usually starts down here in the low, and you'll see it start to climb. So yeah, right now we've got a full band, probably a lot of tropo in here, so we'll probably do some FMDX here in a bit. Let's see what we're getting in. I'll look at a couple of those frequencies. Actually, let's try right now. Oops. Let's try one of those empty frequencies, 94.5, and see what's coming in. Nothing just yet. Okay, 96.5. Nothing just yet. Okay, we have to probably move the antenna around a little bit, but we'll get there. But yeah, those are some tips and tricks. So go ahead and do your band scan now. Make sure you know your local band at deadband conditions inside and out. Know every frequency where there's a station, every frequency where there's not a station. And the ones that do have a station, know what to expect for format, RDS information, and how strong that signal is. Get yourself some sort of way to use Google Remote Desktop. Sign up for those alerts. When you get the email alert, you can pull up your Google Remote Desktop if you're not in the shack and check conditions from no matter where you are, on your phone or on tablet or whatever. Do sign up for fmlist.org. Also, next week I'm going to try to see if we can get some information for you guys about rabbit ears. I'm just going to show it to you really quickly because I don't have my stuff set up just yet. It's kind of like the FM list map, though. And that basically what this is, these are all stations that were automatically logged by a user's RDS decodes on their SDR. So they have their SDR set up. It's just sitting there on a specific slice of the band or the whole band or whatever it is. And every RDS decode that comes in gets automatically logged here on this Rabbit Ears website. So you can see when there's an open. Now, some of these are a little suspect. Like this one here, cross country, 2,209 miles. Probably a false decode, maybe. My guess is a false decode. Some of these are going to be false decodes. But you'll see like this one here. These are definitely legit because they're seeing here and they're seeing here. So it's a nice little bit of a opening here between Louisiana and Alabama right now, which is something I need to pay attention to. So this can help you spot openings, and like I said, I'm working on getting it set up here at the North Shore Studios, so we can have our Elad FDM S3, which will be up and running anyway, with at least half or if not the full band. And if it's decoding stuff with that new antenna, once I put it up, give you a nice insight into what I'm hearing at the time, and maybe let you know if there's something in opening up. So that's that. Get yourself set up with a logbook. Use the FM list as well, or WTFDA. Share what you're hearing. Make sure you put it out there so that others will know when the band is open. That's how we all get more stuff in our logbook. All right, let's go back now. Actually, let me stay on the web page window here. We'll just take a look really quick at our nighttime patterns for our medium wave frequency challenge frequencies of the week. There's 1410, there's 1420, 1430, 1440. Let's start with 1410. Woo! Hello, KBNP, up in Washington. That'd be a fun one. Oh, nope, that's not them. That's CFTE 1410 out of Vancouver. That's who that is doing that big bloop right there. Washington's that little itty bitty circle right there, but that big one here, that's Vancouver. Nice. Up into Alaska. Nice. As usual, East Coast, you guys got a bunch of overlap here. Middle of the country, we've got some stuff here too now. We've got some good overlap. This one here, I'm gonna pull the plots off here for a second. I just want to see, because these guys, I can't get rid of them. And that tells me why. We have the tomato pattern here. Nice big tomato sitting in the Gulf of Mexico. Look at that. And I never heard them before I moved here. Why not? I mean, look at that. They should have been all over in Charleston. But I never heard them before. When I was in Greenville, I should have heard them. When I was in Brasstown, I should have heard them. Never heard them. Look at that pattern. That's crazy. Let's go back to all plots again here. Out west, you guys got some options. Some big antenna patterns here. So yeah, definitely nf8m.com. Go there, check out the nighttime patterns. And see if from your location what you can expect to see. You can zoom in nice and tight there and see what to expect. ING here. That's what I wanted to look at as well. Let me give you no plot here. It'll be ING. Redraw. So a lot of you are going to be hearing Ohio here with this nice big flower pattern. We have some stuff up in Minnesota. Speaking of Minnesota, our friend Justin, UB Studios, will be doing his final live stream of the season tomorrow night, starting at what, 8:45? Is that what he usually does at 8:45? So he'll be on tomorrow night on his live stream. So make sure you check him out, UB Studios. Make sure you subscribe, just like you do here. Subscribe, hit the bell icon so be notified when he does go live. But it'll be his final scheduled live stream of the year tomorrow night. This other season, rather, of 2023 Part 1 until the fall. And then he'll be probably back, I would assume. So yeah, a lot of you are going to be hearing Dayton here. I have not heard them yet, and maybe I can explain why with that nice big knoll that they have here protecting Mobile. They're trying not to interfere with Mobile with that notch right there, and so I'm in between that, and that's why I probably haven't heard Dayton yet. Let's take a look now at 1420. Yep, more of the same. Lots of East Coast overlap. We got some stuff heading north here. We got a nice big one here out west. Who is that? KUJ? Or is that KJJ? My eyes suck. KUJ, I think it is. Here in Washington on 1420. That's a nice target. I would love to be able to hear them here, but probably won't be able to because of all this stuff. Look at all that. KPEL being one of the chief ones here in southeast Louisiana that will be taking ownership of the frequency. Do you have a nice big one down here in Puerto Rico, looks like, possibly? 1430, we've done this frequency before on our frequency challenge. Look at all of that. I mean, just damn. The southern U.S. is just covered. The northern half of the country is just covered. You have a little sliver right here that looks a little bare. Out west is a little bit more open as usual, but damn, look at all that overlap here out east. Just so much. And that's why some of these frequencies sound almost graveyardish. When you see it like this, you can kind of see why. And finally, 1440. A little bit more space out west here. 1440 is pretty sparse for you guys a bit compared to some of these other frequencies. A few less stations, or these other frequencies. A few less stations out here, but again, look out west, or east rather. Several in Florida, up and down the coast there. Tennessee's got a nice little crunch right here. But we got a little divot. What's this about here in the southeast? Or the Gulf South? We have a little divot right here on 1440. You know, this little dome of nothing. No stations in there. That's interesting. Huh. 8:46. So let's go ahead and take our last break. This hour of Live DX, by the way, is being brought to you by International Radio Club, IRCAonline.org. That's where you want to go for more information about becoming a member of the IRCA, and I recommend that you do. When I get my logbook, this FM stuff with the RDSD codes and all that kind of stuff, I'll obviously put the links out. Well, it's still a work in progress right now, so I'm not ready to release it just yet, but I'm working on it. Let's go ahead and do our last break of the night. And, well, our last break for now. When we come back, we'll do some more live DX here on our challenge frequencies. And then maybe do a little FMDX after the top of the hour here. And look for one more round of shout-outs for those of you who do have some new stuff from this week. So don't go anywhere. More live DX is heading your way right here on DX Central Live.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teak Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
Good to see our friend Earl in the house tonight. Hey Earl, what's up, my friend? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, and we are talking AMDX, we're talking FMDX, we're talking all of it right now. And we're having a good time with it. Let me go back live here. Doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo. That's working again. So we're on our medium wave frequency challenge frequencies of the week, which is 1410 through 1440, everything in between. So we're looking at those frequencies here for this top of the hour time frame. We've been talking FMDX, giving some tips to get you ready for FMDX season. We're going to go back and do some more next week, so no worries if you missed anything. And you're still kind of maybe thinking some questions you want to ask for next week. We're going to revisit that. We're going to talk a lot about FMDX these in the last couple of episodes of season 3 as we round out here on DX Central Live. And I do plan on trying to do some FMDX live streams during e-skip openings and things like that this summer. I'm still not sure how it's going to go, but we're going to give it a shot. All right, so yeah, we're sitting on 1440 right now here on our Perseus and Jaguar software, and let's see what's on 1440 as we head towards our next top of the hour time frame.
Can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Unsealed tax evaders can stop collections and get you protected.
I gotta check something really quick. Okay, so I've got one of my ears on these brand new Sony headphones. It's not working, but I just confirmed it's not the headphones. I think it's my sound card, or at least the headphone jack on this doodad that I've got here, so I may have to switch up where my headphones are put.
Children in the U.S. are at risk of aging out of foster care without a family.
Because let me tell you, having audio in one ear is maddening. Especially for DX purposes, oh my god. Last year was not a great e-skip season. I mean, it was better in 2020. 2020 was just barren, and I think 2019, if I remember right, was equally awful for eSkip. Let me pull up my FM list log here from 2022. Let me sort by mileage. Let me see what my peak was here for the season. 1,088 miles, CKIS in Toronto was my big catch of last year, my furthest catch from last year. Also did get Guadalajara out of Mexico for 1,086 miles, XHBIO, and a couple other Mexican stations that were over 1,000 miles. A couple of Ontarios, a couple of Minnesota. Justin, up your way. Jacob, you up your way. 92.5 KQRS in Golden Valley. WMEQ out of Menominee, Wisconsin came in a couple times, 92.1. South Dakota came in, a couple of New Mexicos. So it was a decent season last year on FM, but nothing to write home about. I mean, it definitely was very short-lived. But I'm hoping this year, with a little more preparation that I will be doing, and the new antenna, I'm hoping that will change. That I'll be a little bit better prepared and a little more tuned in and ready to go for eSkip season this season, and that we get the openings, because that 2021 season was like crack, man. I was just like, give me more. I still have like 8 terabytes almost of recordings from that FMDX season of 2021, that eSkip season, that I haven't even touched or reviewed yet. And I've got several hundred stations logged that FM season from those eSkip openings, what I've reviewed so far. I've still got 8 terabytes left to go through. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, up into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Ontario, Quebec, up into Manitoba and South Dakota, North Dakota, out towards Wyoming and things. I mean, it was the whole gamut. It was unbelievable. It was just amazing. And I haven't barely touched those recordings. So I'm looking forward to it. If this season's not great, if we aren't getting a lot of openings, I might spend some time doing some FMDX from, 2 years ago? Also, if you have any shout-outs, if we didn't call you out earlier in the shout-outs, and you have new stations logged, AM or FM, either one, new stations logged, new states, new countries, AM or FM, new Canadian province, new Mexican state, we want to hear about those. Send those over in the chat, and I'll get you a shout-out before we wrap up tonight. So, Earl, if you had anything, let us know. And Mike, if you're watching, I think I saw you put something in the Slack channel. I got you in there. Normally, I don't do that. Normally, I make sure everybody does it in our live stream chat. I know you're watching. That's Mason Mike, by the way. I know you're on. I know you're watching along here, so I'll get you in there for this next round. Oh, it is, isn't it? Thank you, Bill, for keeping me honest here. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
They need to change, especially how the public dance have their bills planned next week.
Oh, Keegan, man, if I can get Washington from here, the celebration would be endless. I feel you on that, Earl.
The good news is Joe Biden's social media is shorter, so this means spend more.
Do you FM?
So, the need is unavailable because of of meat shortages generated by supply chains breaking under Joe Biden. And suddenly you have a spate of articles about how meat is really bad for you and actually tastes
Ambos son igualmente abominación a Jehová.
Yeah, so Mike in Mexico. Mason Mike in Mexico, Mike. Mexico Mike. Let me know what you got. AM, how many you got AM and your new ones on FM down there in Mexico? Let's see.
For the people who are trying to buy new houses. So, the Washington Post has a piece today titled, Rethinking Single-Family Living. Roommates pay bills, create community. Doe, 38, assured her Seattle home with a rotating cast of 11 roommates since she and her husband, Nathan Friend, 37, bought it in 2012. During that time, had 3 children and a
Hear a Spanish station in there. That could be KTUV up here. And I am still one earring it right now, so I need your help here, guys. I do hear Ben in there.
Associate professor at the Department of Family and Social Sciences at the University of Minnesota.
Y amargura a la que lo dio a luz. Ciertamente, no es bueno condenar al justo, ni herir a los nobles que hacen el bien. Porque ahora sus palabras tienen sabiduría. El hombre es entendido.
Did anybody get that ID? Like I said, I'm more than earring it right now, so it's super soft for me right now. It's 10 ply. Our Letterkenny fans got me. Those little laser hits have got to be unique to somebody, I would think. Oh yeah, I accidentally hit the wrong button. Did I just hear an ID radio's? Was that on this Vita? I think that was them. Sounded like it. Mike, you might know down there. XEEST down here in Mexico City. 25K. I've heard him before. It kind of sounds like what I heard him say. But again, I'm super hand tied right now with this earphone issue. think that's who that is. Oh, thanks, Mike. Thank you. WWCL. Florida, right? Yep, Florida. There they are. Okay, thank you, man. I thought that might be them, but I couldn't remember where it was.
1-833-288-EWGM. That's 1-833-288-3986. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985. Or send an email to openline@ewgm.com.
A tremendous Friday to
So there's a couple. Let me write that down. 0200 WWCL. I don't think I have them here, if I remember right. I did have them in Charleston, but not here. 1420. Oh, I skipped ahead. From Mandeville, it would be, yeah. Did y'all get that ID? This one ear thing sucks. After this FS1. I couldn't pull it out there. Yeah. And now 1410 is going to be Mobile probably again.
Mobile, Alabama. And 1410 AM.
Who is that?
Mobile, Alabama. And 1410 AM. And 1410 AM. And 1410.
I can't hear it. I guess this. Oh, I've got my left ear. Let me try swapping it to my right ear. My right ear is better. Hold up. It's gonna feel weird.
Mobile, Alabama. And 1410 AM. And 1410.
I'm thinking maybe KDBS out of Alexandria, maybe? Or KTCS out of Fort Smith? I can't tell. I'm gonna have to review that again when I can get both ears on it. Ugh. All right, let's go ahead. Let me go back to live mode here. And let's do our last round of shout outs for the night. And I will go ahead and pull up our logbook and see what did we get this week, because I don't remember. I think we got some stuff. Okay. Last week was the 14th? No, nothing new this week for here. KTAE and Elgin that we got last week during the broadcast was the last one that we logged new. So nothing new here at DX Central. But we do have 2 shout-outs to get to tonight to wrap us up here. The mics. We got start with Mesa Mike. 9 new logs, all on the medium wave frequency challenge frequencies. Good job, Mesa Mike. And Mike, Mexico Mike. We got Mesa Mike, Mexico Mike. Got 3 total new ones on medium wave and started the Mexico FM logbook. So, for Mike J, we got you in here with a nice, good log saw too, my friend. Good job. All right, so those are our shout-outs for tonight. If we didn't get you, no worries. Come back next week and we'll get you shout-out in there. A couple of really quick last-minute tips before we head out. Don't forget about the Slack channel. If you are interested, you can ping me info at DX Central Online with your email address. We can make sure that you get invited to both the Medium Wave DX and FM DX Slack channels. Those allow you to have some tips and tricks and compare notes with everybody's hearing and things like that. So if you are interested in being part of the either FM or AM DX Slack channels and are not yet in there already, again, shoot me info at dxcentralonline.com and let me know, and I will help you out and get you in there. Also, don't forget, tomorrow night, our friend Justin up in Minnesota is doing his live stream. UB Studios is his name here on YouTube, so make sure you look him up and give him some love tomorrow night at 8:45 Central Time. That's 9:45 Eastern, 7:45 Mountain, 6:45 on the Pacific West Coast. And show him some love as well on his live stream tomorrow night. It'll be his last of the season. We've got 2 more after tonight. So we got next week and then 1 more. We wrap up May 5th. May 5th, don't forget, we'll be making a big announcement. We'll be making a big announcement that's going to help set your plans for the summer. We've got you covered for the summer. We know exactly what you're going to be doing this summer for DX because we got you covered. So make sure you are here for our big season finale wrap party May 5th right here on our usual platforms, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook, and our website, dxcentrallive.com. All right, my friends, that'll do it for tonight. We appreciate you being here. Go have fun with some DX, AM, FM, or otherwise. Whatever you do, make sure that you enjoy it and have a lot of fun, and may your logbooks be filled. Next time we see each other right here next Friday night at 6:45 Central Time for DX Central Live. Take care, my friends. 73.
This is